Hello, I'm Joe, and I have a question for you. Have you ever looked at a piece of concept art for a movie or a video game and noticed this sort of texture on certain colors in the piece? Maybe you see a tiled ground and all the tiles are a slightly different color. Or instead of a wall being one solid hue, it kind of changes and shifts the more you look. While there are multiple ways to make these color changes happen, the tool that makes this job super easy is a brush setting called Color Jitter. It can be applied to literally any digital art brush, and I have absolutely fallen in love with it. I've been in the midst of trying to go through a sort of artist training arc, and using this tool in my pieces has not only helped with my understanding of color, but it's also just helped with the appeal and overall look of my pieces. So today, I'm spreading my propaganda. I'm gonna go over what color jitter is and some techniques you can use to apply it to your own art. I know a lot of my viewers are younger or beginner artists, so I'm gonna try my best to explain everything in a way that is accessible to all viewers. Little disclaimer before we get started though. I am a self-taught artist. I'm pretty confident in what I'm saying in this video, but if I get anything wrong, or if you have any tips to go along with what I'm saying here, leave them in the comments below. I'm always open to being corrected. With that, let's go ahead and get into... First off, what exactly is color jitter? What does it do? To demonstrate, I will be using this drawing of Kuchipachi. Mwah, I freaking love him so much. In digital art, jitter is a setting that can be applied to most or all digital art brushes. In Procreate, it's labeled under the Color Dynamics tab, and other programs will have it somewhere in the brush settings. There are two different kinds of color jitter. Stroke jitter, where the color changes every stroke, or every time you put your brush down and make a line or a dot, and stamp jitter, which changes color with every individual stamp placed down in a stroke. You can see the difference on screen. Stroke jitter stays a solid color, whereas stamp jitter changes throughout the stroke. You can apply one or both of these kinds of jitter to a brush. It's not just one or the other. Though most artists I've seen who use the tool only use the jitter to change the hue, you can also change the saturation, brightness, and value of the jitter. In Procreate, the higher the number, the more variation you'll have between strokes and stamps. For example, with stamp jitter, hue set to 5 looks like this, and hue set to 70 looks like this. It's a big jump. It's really fun to play around with, but when I first discovered this tool, I wasn't exactly sure where to use it and how to apply it in my own way. So let's discuss some techniques and how I've learned to use it in my own artwork. I've developed 3 main uses of jitter that I use to apply to my own art. They all overlap in their own ways, but this is just the most concise way I can explain it. Number 1, make your base colors pop. I feel like this is a really common way artists use color jitter. In fact, this is the way I use jitter the most, and there's a pretty good reason for it. When we look at objects in real life, rarely do we see pure color all at once. Factors like lighting, shadows, and even objects surrounding an object can make the colors look different. While it is good to pay close attention to these things, and having a basic grasp on color theory and lighting will help, using hue jitter can sometimes act like a cheat code. It can slightly change the colors without direct regard for all these rules, while still looking pretty good if you use it right. I personally like to use hue jitter the most whenever I'm coloring clothing. You can see it used on all of the characters I drew for my last video, but I think you can see my use of it best on this character, DK. Whenever I put down the base colors of his pants and skeleton detail on his shirt, I felt like the colors didn't feel alive enough. I love to have texture and tinier details in my art, so adding color jitter to both areas was an easy solution to this problem. Here's before I added the jitter, and after. It's a subtle change, but it adds just that much more visual interest to the piece. Number 2, use it for shading. This goes along with the logic of the last point, for color jitter being a sort of cheat code, but it does require some basic color theory to understand. You might have heard the tip before to quote-unquote use a purple multiply layer to add shading to your art. And this is because the main light source on Earth is the sun. The sun emits yellow light, the opposite of yellow is purple. That's the basic train of logic for shading color theory. You want an opposite color of your light to be your shadows. This rule can be bent, I don't always follow it, but it's good for this tip. For using color jitter to shade, I set my base color, here it's going to be green, and I make strokes on my canvas until I find a color that leans more towards purple. So like this blue color I've landed on. I then take that color, maybe adjust it a little bit, and then use it to shade, while still having a tiny bit of jitter applied to my brush. That way I don't have to use any blending mode for my shading. So not only do I use jitter to add interest to my colors, I can also use it to help me find the colors I use in my pieces, specifically and usually for shading. However, that's not to say I'm dependent on it. There are a lot of instances in my work where using jitter to shade would be a pretty bad idea, but if you're ever stumped or just want to try out the method, I recommend. It can be fun. You can also use the first tip for your shading areas, add some hue variety to it. Number 3, add texture. I want you to think of a textured brush you have. Maybe it's one of those brushes that makes multiple lines at once. Maybe it's a brush that has a really chalky or grainy texture. You want to know how to make it even more textured? You know what I'm about to say. Add that jitter. Add it right now. Stroke or stamp, it doesn't matter. It'll look good either way. That's really up to preference. Textured brushes are already amazing. They do their jobs really well. The art community salutes their service. But adding just a tiny bit of jitter can make it even more textured, and it looks so freaking good. You can even apply jitter to a non-textured, very smooth brush you have, and it'll make it feel entirely different. I used to use the brush GVW Fading Edge for line art a lot, until I realized I could add stroke jitter to it, and it became one of my primary coloring and shading brushes. Something about the slight color changes makes it feel like paint or gouache. Oh, it's so fun. Honestly, I was getting bored of digital art for a little while until I found this tool. I decided I would duplicate all of my main brushes, add jitter to the duplicates, and just go crazy with it. I don't think jitter is my end-all be-all for coloring, and I still have a lot more to learn whenever it comes to color theory, but if you're like me and you ever find yourself wanting to add a little more color or texture to your pieces, give jitter a try. I want more people to know about it because I would have liked to know about it when I was a younger artist. If you've ever used jitter before or have any other niche coloring tips in general, leave them in the comments. I'd love to learn more techniques. Thank you for sticking around until the end, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It's an easy and free way to support the channel. I know this was a shorter video, but I just wanted to get something up before I have to completely lock in on finals in my multi-animator project. I'm sad I haven't been able to upload more this year, but school will do that to you. Shout out to my $10 patrons, Trivia Magic, Mac, Cookie Cutter, as well as all of my other members on there. If you want to see more art and content from me, be sure to check out my Patreon, Instagram, and Pinterest. Alright, you want to say the last line of the video?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. Bye!